Hey folks, and welcome back to West Yorkshire Retro Gamer. It's match preview time. I'm going to keep this one very short, or as short as I can. Leeds face Manchester City. This doesn't get any harder. This is about as hard as it gets. I've checked the value of how much Manchester City paid for the players in their squad. I mean, the prices are through the roof. In terms of the players that have played the most this season, or just about played the most for City this season, they would potentially start with Gianluigi. We'll get there in the end. Donnarumma in goal. With a back line of Matheus Nunes, Nico O'Reilly, Josko Gvardiol and Ruben Diaz. They would potentially then go with the midfield of Tijani Reinders, Bernardo Silva, Nico Gonzalez, and potentially then they might go with the likes of Phil Foden and Jeremy Doku, kind of either side of arguably the best striker in the world at the minute, Erling Haaland, who was born in Leeds. Let me remind everyone, he should be playing for Leeds, but hey ho. So what does this mean for the Leeds United lineup? I mean, just finally touching on the Man City team there. They rested a bunch of players in Champions League recently, and even if they don't go with this 11, the next best 11 ain't that bad either. And it's like the only position that's not adequately backed up is up front. They've got Mamouche as the backup striker, who has to be possibly the most expensive backup striker in the Premier League, and would probably get into at least 3/4 of all the other teams in the division. This is what we're up against. Even if Man City were to play their youngest possible 11, you know, some of the players that are missing out, you've got Oscar Bob, you've got James Trafford in goal. You know, they've got players that can come on and play. Rico Lewis is another youngster that's played for him already. So in essence, I think that whatever lineup they put out, we're going to get slaughtered. The only chance Leeds have of getting even a draw here is if Haaland is unavailable, and bearing in mind that there's only Haaland scoring for them at the minute. Everyone else has either got one goal or no goals, which is kind of interesting. But they've got players that can hurt you, whichever way you look at it. So what does this mean for the Leeds United lineup? It was confirmed earlier that Leeds are missing Sebastian Bornau due to MCL, Anton Stack due to concussion, and Sean Longstaff due to, oh god, what were it now? Is it a calf injury? It's keeping him out for a maximum of 6 weeks anyway, which is a really heavy blow. So, as far as Leeds' first 11's concerned, it would potentially mean Lucas Perry in goal, Jayden Bogle, Gabriel Gudmundsson at fullback, Joe Rodon and Pascal Struijk at centre back, Ilya Gruev and Outanaka would definitely come in to start the game alongside Ethan Ampadu in midfield. I think that we could do with having the pace of Dan James on the pitch there, quite frankly, and again we are going to need some kind of attacking outlet, so Noah Okafor has to play, and then Lucas Mecherou's the only striker we've got that's scoring at the minute, so he would keep his place. The only other attacking change that you could make out of all of that would maybe be Wilfred Gnonto for Dan James, so that you've got the two most creative wingers on the pitch at the same time. As far as the bench is concerned, it kind of speaks for itself. I mean, just touching on the missing out bit as well, you've got Illan Meslier and Alex Keynes, who again, unless we have a goalkeeping crisis of both Perry and Darlow being unavailable, neither of those two are going to feature. So as far as the bench is concerned, you've got Carl Darlow as the backup goalkeeper, and then you've got two full-backs in Sam Byram and James Justin, you've got a centre-back in Jakob Yol, you've got three wingers in Brendan Aronson, Jack Harrison and Wilfred Gnonto, and two strikers in Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Joel Piroe. It speaks for itself. The players that are unavailable basically mean that the squad is going to be made up of the left, the first and second columns from the left there. Now, as far as Farke's concerned, it would not surprise me in the absolute least if Dan James and Noah Okafor were both sacrificed here and replaced with Brendan Aronson and Jack Harrison, on the basis that both of them, certainly under Farke, are more defensive minded than Dan James, Noah Okafor and Wilfred Gnonto. And I have a horrible fear that Farke will try to go as defensive as possible and we're going to get ripped apart. He needs to have some attacking impetus of some kind on that pitch. We've got to try. We've got to try and have a go. You know, if we have a go and we get slaughtered 9-0, at least you can say you had a bloody go. But I'm telling you now, in my humble opinion, I think Farke will try and go as defensive as possible due to what happened when we faced Arsenal and got well at 5-0. But I'm telling you that even with just with Erling Haaland up front, I'm telling you now, Manchester City are a more attacking outlet than Arsenal. And this is where the concern is for me. You know, again, like, if we keep Erling Haaland quiet, there's still some players on that pitch that can get goals. They just haven't really got any because Erling Haaland's been getting them all. But if we're going to be realistic, we ain't getting anything from this match. Not unless some miracle comes along from somewhere. And so what if Erling Haaland gets injured? They bring on Mamouche, the backup striker. And then they've got a couple of other players they could bring on. They've even got Emil Eski's two sons with squad numbers. Oh boy. I can't see a positive outlook with this one whatsoever. Now, do I blame Farke for what could potentially happen this weekend? No. I think that whatever lineup we put out and whatever tactics we use, I think we get beat. Do I blame Farke for how many goals could be conceded? Partially. At the end of the day, it's still the players that are on the pitch that have to do the defending. You know, they should know the basics of defending and attacking. But it's the in-game management from Farke that is really going to tell in this one. You know, making substitutions at the right time, changing the tactical shape at the right time, putting the correct, putting the best possible 11 out. You know, from a midfield point of view, if we stick to the 4-3-3, which has been using all season, it speaks for itself. We've only got 3 available midfielders in Gruev, Ampadu and Tanaka, so they have to start. It's questionable as to which 2 wingers are going to start, but I just have a rotten feeling he'll go with Aronson and Harrison, because they're both, in his mind, more defensively sound. But I think you've got to go the opposite. You could either go with the raw pace of Dan James, play direct, get the ball over to him, hope that his pace wins out, Nemec's no slouch, and he's can be quite a physical player. He can cause some problems for defenders because he can get in behind. So you've got that option, but and then on the left side, obviously Okafor can create, when he's in possession. But Farke came out and massively criticised the left side, which is a bit harsh on Gudmundsson because Gudmundsson's been one of our best players this season. So, when you've got the left side trying to, effectively, in Gudmundsson and Okafor, it's potentially a very decent Premier League left side. But when managers criticising the entirety of the left side, that doesn't really bode well, does it? Tanaka played well in the last match for the time that he was on. He was very tidy in possession. We don't know what Gruev's going to be like. He'll either get found out or he'll be very tight defensively. Because that is Gruev's game. He's a defensive midfielder. As far as the bench is concerned, he might bring Calvert-Lewin on, but that would be stupidly harsh on Mecha. I wouldn't have Calvert-Lewin starting over Mecha until Mecha stops scoring goals. Mecha's our one outlet right now. He's the one that's scoring. So you've got to keep him on. And he's not scoring bucket loads, but he's scoring something. Whereas Calvert-Lewin can't find net for whatever he tries. And Joel Pirro hasn't got the pace. He's, again, out of our three strikers, he's possibly our best finisher. But he hasn't got the physical strength and he hasn't got the pace. To potentially start in the Premier League. You could start Pirro up in a two up front formation, but Farke doesn't use that. So I'm just going to leave it at that, folks, because I could talk for pushing an hour on all of this. But this is either going to be a very narrow 2-1 win or it's going to be a 9-0 win, and either way it's going to go in Man City's favour. This isn't going to be a repeat of when Cooper got sent off for fouling Gabriel Jesus, and then Stuart Dallas goes and gets a brace with Ferran Torres getting a goal in between. It's not going to happen that way. Not this one. So we shall have to see. I hope for damage limitation. I hope for a win. But how can we hope to beat a team that has been assembled where every player cost them at least 30 million quid, going up to bloody 70 million quid? Apart from the players that came through their own academy. We can't compete with that. We simply can't. I don't think there's any team in the Premier League that can compete with that, quite frankly. I think it's the most expensive assembled squad. Whether it's got the best quality throughout from start to finish, I'm not 100% sure on that. Certainly top 3 or 4 without a shadow of a doubt. But it goes down as one of the most expensively assembled squads. I checked the prices earlier of the Man City squad, and you've got players that are that were bought for 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, 60 million, 70 million. I think the most expensive was 90 million euros, which worked out at about 70 million quid or something. The only team that can really boast to beat that right now is the amount of money that Liverpool spent, and that's because they spent 100 million quid on 2 individual players. In Isak and Wirtz. But that's just 2 players. This Man City team runs wild over Liverpool's squad, in my opinion. So there we go, folks. I'll leave it at that. Big thank you for watching. Massive apologies for it being a bit of a downer. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Let's hope for a win. I'd take a draw in a heartbeat, quite frankly. Because again, Leeds have been so far away from home, and Man City have just been great wherever they've gone. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But do please give the video a like. Do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the hype button as well if it's available. And let's hope we don't get destroyed. This is why we love Leeds United, isn't it, folks? My God, I don't know if this is going to take it. I don't know if it's going to take watching 90 minutes of what could potentially be happening this weekend. But anyway, thanks again, folks. All the best. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.